Henry. Mommy.
You're all going to die.
There's a case that needs your attention. Something about it disturbs me greatly.
The Demon in My movie is trying to infiltrate the church and possess the Pope so he can take it down.
One of the central premises of the movie is taken from a description in the Bible talking about Lucifer and fallen angels.
What do you know about demons?
One serves the other in a hierarchy.
The higher the demon, the more access it can have.
And how they are cast down into the earth, locked underground, but are they vanquished?
Bring me the priest.
It's very hard to make original exorcism-based material. It's such a well-traversed space, so to find a new way into it, vis-a-vis the Vatican and the sort of natural interest people have in closed societies like that and in a city-state that's as powerful as Vatican City, the trappings and the intrigues and the conspiracy, I think it speaks to a lot of where the world is today. I think there's more suspicion of our institutions, and I think that frankly makes a character like Amorth, who's a rebel inside one of those institutions, all the more appealing to audiences.
Our sins will seek us out.
There's definitely levels of intrigue and investigation in the movie which feel different from what you might find in another type of horror film.
What is this?
The victims, the ones who would not convert. There is something underneath this place.
This movie feels really big and sprawling. There's a whole world that they discover under the Abbey that opens up the movie to this secret that's been covered up for centuries.
It's the Vatican seal.
See.
Is it gas?
A little gas, a little sulfur, a little death.
Gabriele Amorth and Danny Zavato's character start to discover this particular place has a long history. There are layers and layers of other cathedrals. Church has been built and rebuilt on the same spot.
Catacomb. This is how they would bury the dead.
You discover that there's something much bigger going on. There's a big conspiracy, and that can threaten the world.
This is just the beginning. You don't know who you're dealing with.
Then tell me.
I think the stakes are massive. What got me excited about this project is the central character felt like, like a Dirty Harry, / Columbo type character.
What is your purpose?
I'm here for you.
Then you must know my name.
I really love, buddy cop movies, and I felt like there was a central relationship of a young priest and an old priest, and they were thrown into this pressure cooker situation, and they go and take on, some demons.
We are getting closer to hell.
I'm a horror fan. As someone who always kind of, just in the movies I made in the past and as an executive and as a producer, I always kind of responded to high concepts and big characters. This has both in spades.
Gabriele. I know your nightmares too.
I never planned to make a scary movie. I just planned to make a believable movie in the sense of like the characters and their journey and what's going on around them.
Surrender yourself to me.
I'm sure people are gonna get creeped out and they're gonna feel dread and at moments they're gonna be afraid and they're gonna wanna leave the cinema, but they can't. It's like watching a road accident, you wanna look away, but you can't.
Daddy?
You're all going to die.
This is the court of the Lord. Release this child and flee from the light of God.
Gabriele.
Father Amorth!
Gabe. Mind if I call you Gabe?
Father Amorth.
You know me?
Yes.
I actually had never heard of Gabriele Amorth before the project started, before I read the script. Really, that is the thing that got me interested. The chap that I play in this film is a real man. This particular man was involved in tens of thousands of exorcisms. The thing that actually surprised me when this project first came up is that there is actually a real job called the chief exorcist. That's a real job in the Vatican.
Exorcism is my job. But the vast majority of the cases to which I am assigned do not require an exorcism. They just need a little conversation.
He was the real deal. But I think when you look at him as almost a Renaissance man, he was a war hero, he was a writer, he was a theologian.
He'd had a very interesting life, Gabriele Amorth. He joined the resistance in the town where he lived, and he fought against the fascists. He became a partisan.
He's a very fascinating guy when you really start to see his whole trajectory, his life.
But the thing that never went away from him was the calling.
Each morning, he would respond to the hundreds of letters he received every week from around the world, from those with spiritual diseases, and he became one of the most beloved figures in his native country.
Il diavolo è un puro spirito, quindi non è che sia un uomo presente dentro una persona, no.
I mean, it's a very dark pursuit when you think about it. You're dealing a lot with people who are suffering deeply. And as it came out in the research, it's 98% the cases that got referred to Gabriele Amorth as perhaps requiring an exorcism. He passed on to medical professionals dealing with psychiatry and psychology, and it was very, very few, obviously, of what came to him that he believed was a takeover in some way of a human body. And obviously, to do his job, he absolutely believed in what he was doing.
The only way your son comes back to you is through faith.
I just found his character very interesting. He said some very controversial things in his time. And he was very, very definitely his own man.
I am the chief exorcist of the Vatican. My position was appointed by my bishop. My diocese is Rome. My local bishop is the Pope. If you have a problem with me, you talk to my boss.
He was a guy not at all afraid to take on the hierarchies of the church when he thought something was wrong.
You're right. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. But I am a theologian, I am a lawyer, I am a journalist, and I am a practical man. I was also a partisan in the war, so I know a firing squad when I see one.
I'm not sure what their attitude towards horror films is at all, actually, really, in the first place, but I've talked to quite a few priests, and they all seem to see the films. And I think even Gabriele Amorth said that his favorite horror film, the most accurate one, was actually The Exorcist. I do actually enjoy the responsibility of playing real people, but there is a kind of an extra responsibility when you're playing somebody real to try and get the essence of that person across. So for me personally, playing a character that's real and a man like this who's dedicated his life to a particular job and has obviously been very effective in that job in order to keep that job for 36 years.
I can't say enough about Russell's approach to the character, because ultimately what he ended up doing was reinforcing our position, which was that it was very important to honor the man.
I mean, it's a dream, you know, as a young actor. I mean, I grew up watching his films. You know, the relationship between Father Amorth and Father Gabriele is pretty much like a mentor relationship. And in many ways, that was our relationship outside of the camera, you know, and it's learning from him, learning from somebody that I admire, and I respect his work ethic and how he approaches characters.
You don't get to stay handsome in this business for too long.
Please, don't.
Reading between the lines and reading his articles and knowing that he did have a certain particular irreverent take on things and trying to bring that into the film. He's an individual, he's not a cookie cutter man of the cloth by any means, you know. particularly our version of Gabriele. You know, he rides a Lambretta motor scooter, he wears red socks under his cassock.
If you do not believe me, just ask my friend.
I found out hundreds of fascinating things about Gabriele Amorth. One of the things that was just so idiosyncratic was whenever he recognized negativity or let's call it the devil, you know, he would make this sound, cuckoo. Yeah, so there's video footage of him in the middle of exorcisms just suddenly coming out with that. But I think it goes along with one of the things that he'd come across in that if you keep your good humor in front of the devil, it's not something that the devil likes.
You know any jokes?
No.
You should learn some. The devil does not like jokes.
You can't hide behind your jokes forever.